Hello beautiful people, it's your boy Yahya from VR Division and welcome back. Boy, it's been 2 weeks. If you missed me, prove that with a comment because I missed you too. Today, at the end of this tutorial, assuming you watched parts 1, 2 and 3, you are now equipped with everything it takes to achieve some amazing projects in Unreal Engine 4. And the best part is, the knowledge I provide you with in this video can be applied to any game engine, as long as you bake your lights. Subscribe if you're not already, get some coffee, get some water, stay alert, stay hydrated, say hell yeah, and let's get started. Hey! In the last tutorial we discovered this door. We made some changes. There is a purpose because I wanna show you some stuff. This is a test room I made to show you how, when we play with the Lightmap resolution and when we prepare our geometry for Unreal Engine, what could change and how this will affect our light maps. So now almost everything is set on 64, the Lightmap resolution, and as you can see the shadows are not that good, but that's okay. So this is a Lightmap resolution of 64 on this room, and you can see the ceiling, you can see the light. It's really not that good, you know. However, you can see the seam here because we made the Lightmap resolution on 512, and you can see the shadows are way much better and we don't see this ceiling thingy anymore. And if you always wonder how can you get rid of these artifacts and bugs, you can do that by upping your resolution. We made it now here 1024 and you can see it's even better. And now we made it 32 just to show you the difference between here and here. And don't ask me why I made the test room like this, because it's fun. So that's 64 and that's extreme 2K. However, I don't want you to set everything on 2K because it will take so much time to build the light. Now in this test room, this is the floor. I don't know if we can't read, but this is set to 64 and you can see there is barely no shadows, especially like the contact shadows. We can't see them, they are not accurate. And here the Lightmap resolution on 1024 and you can see the shadows are way much better. And this is one big floor. Now we divided the floor into 4 parts here. You can see Lightmap resolution 64 and you can see the shadows are much better than this part. And we did the same here. So this is 512. The shadows are a little hard to spot, so that's why we have the big teapots at the end there. So this is a one big floor set to 64. I should be a rapper. And this is Lightmap resolution here set to 32 and the shadows suck. And here 1024, shadows are much better. I have an imaginary spotlight spotting some light on this sphere, the Lightmap resolution on 512, and here the Lightmap resolution on 8, and holy shit, you can see the difference. Regarding the walls here, you can see the light bleed from the ceiling because we have a lower resolution on 32 and here it's 1024. One other thing, the reason there is this leak, it's not because of the walls, it's because the ceiling Lightmap resolution is set to 64. And I forgot to change it, that's why we see the bleed. The reason I'm showing you this, Lightmap resolution, when it goes up, yes, it gives you crisper shadows, better lights and all, but also it takes so much time to build, so you need to do that strategically. I made this part here smaller. It's because we can get away with low map resolution when we have smaller pieces, and I will show you exactly that in the apartment later. So I'm gonna press escape and I will walk you through this test room. Here we have everything set to 64 and I don't want to change anything, but you can see how bad the shadows are in general. If we increase the floor resolution, we will basically get better shadows. And the same here, and you can see that in action in these areas. Let's increase the camera speed a little. That's too fast. Now Here we have one big floor and it's set the Lightmap resolution for 64. And here we have the same Lightmap resolution, but we have, instead of one big floor, we have 4 floors. And if we want to compare the shadow on the teapot here compared to here, I don't know if you can see the difference, but here there is barely no shadow, it's just a black spot. But here the shadow is slightly more defined. Okay, to demonstrate this better, why we have smaller meshes, bigger meshes and stuff, it would be best to move on now to the next scene we made for you, which is the class 1 apartment. We can get rid of these stuff again when we increase the Lightmap resolution, the light leaks and stuff. How do we increase the Lightmap resolution, you might ask? Well, when you click on any static mesh and you scroll down to lighting, you have the override Lightmap resolution. Usually it's set to 64. We can play with this. When you activate override, you can just change to whatever you like. And when you activate this, you need to rebuild the light again, so be careful with that. Unless you Ctrl Z, it will bring back the old Lightmap. Let's say we want to increase the resolution even more, and this is, by the way, built on preview. So when we build on production, most of these will be gone, but it will take also like 4 times more. This took like 6 minutes to build, so it might take like 20 minutes or something. You can control the quality of the lighting in your Unreal Engine projects in 3 ways. 1, we just covered it by increasing or decreasing the Lightmap resolution. 2, by setting up the light quality from preview to medium, high and production. 3, by changing the lightmass.ini file in your Unreal Engine installation folder if you're using GPULightmass, and we will cover that in a second. 4, when you go to the word settings if you're using the GPULightmass, and increasing or decreasing these settings in the Lightmass settings. Now we're using Unreal 425 and we want to change up the resolution here in this scene. So let's go to where we have our engine installed, engine config, and if you scroll down, you have the base Lightmass file here, this guy. When you click this guy, open it with a notepad or a text editor, and when you scroll all the way down, you should have this if you have the GPULightmass by Luoshuang installed on your machine. Now, when we increase these numbers, we will have a better resolution here. So let's go ahead and do that. We will do one final bake before we move on to the next scene. A final settings usually would look like something like this. So let's not do one completely final settings. Let's just do 64, 32, and the firefly clamping threshold. We don't have any artifacts, any fireflies in this scene, do we? These guys, usually the default setting is set on 1000 if you want to get rid of these artifacts, and we might see it better in the other room. These guys get rid of this firefly effect by decreasing this number from 1000 to 10 or 50. This guy, basically the lower the better. I usually go to 10, there is no need to go lower than 10, so usually I just keep this always set on 10, and of course by increasing the Lightmap resolution on this box. So what we will do now is selecting this floor and increasing the Lightmap resolution to 512, and we have this 2K guy here. I don't want to set it for 2K because it takes longer time to build, so let's select these guys here, and let's do something like 512, and let's change this to 512 so we don't forget. And what we can change here, selecting this ceiling and this ceiling, set them on 256, and we will see later how some of the artifacts here will be gone. We will keep everything else on the same values. Yeah, this looks like a good setting. So now we saved our file and these are the new settings we will build with. When we right click our notepad, usually you can pin your recent stuff, and I have the base Lightmass pinned here to edit it. So when I click, I don't have to go to where do I have my engine every time and just find this file. So I just pin it here and I'm good to go. And I can change the settings in here. To do final settings before we move on to the next scene, let's do preview and we will click on build light. Now we will be back after the light bake is finished. Until then, let me show you something in Max, how to optimize your projects correctly for 3ds Max. This is the apartment we have before, if you remember. We have the same apartment twice, so this is the new one and this is the old one. I see most people do the following. They have all their meshes, all their walls, all the floors, everything is just maybe one piece or two pieces. So imagine this area here, when we unwrap it, that your shadows and the light will be baked on this UV space. Unreal will always unwrap your meshes for you, especially stuff like walls. So imagine your shadow is just here, taking only this area or this area. Instead, what you could do is separate these meshes into smaller pieces, smaller chunks to make the most out of your light bake. Obviously, this will take much more time to build than this. So here we have 2 objects, here we have like 29, but the quality on this apartment will look so much better than this. You will not see any lighting details on something like this, or shadows or anything. And I will show you what I mean in a second after finishing that test room light bake. We take this even one step further. The meshes we don't see, let's say this is an interior project and we don't see the exterior walls. What I don't want you to do is deleting this stuff, because the light will just go through this wall and you will have even more artifacts. But what you can do is selecting this piece that we can see from inside and detach it, just like what I did here. I want higher resolution on this guy and on this guy, so I just detach them. I keep this set to 64 or 32 or even 8 because we don't see it. Remember, the higher the number, the higher it will take to build the light. So it's a good practice to detach what we see from what we don't see and give a lower resolution for what we don't see and keep the same resolution on what we see, or just increase it slightly. Because on a scenario like this, even a 4K or 8K, it won't be enough, and it won't be even practical to have an 8K light map resolution on this guy. But here you can get away with like 256, 512, and you would have an amazing shadow or a light when you bake your scene other than this. If you want to maximize your UV space, just separate what we see from what we don't see. The same on meshes like the kitchens, for example. So here's a nice example I can show you. Here's usually how I do the kitchens. Here you will have like very nice light map resolution because this is one piece or two pieces, and this is, imagine the same mesh, the same object, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To have the same light on this object, this is set to 64. This should be 5 times more to have the same lighting quality on this part. So imagine when you do this, when all your kitchen is just one piece like this. This is not very practical. And the reason this is not very practical, you have your marmara. Imagine this part of the kitchen where we have some decoration pieces, like in this picture. You would have shadows, you would have... When all your kitchen is just one piece like this, you would not have an accurate shadows or lighting unless you take the light map resolution of this mesh to something extreme like 2K or 4K. However, when you separate your meshes to something like this, they're separated. You can just control the shadows and the lights based on whatever you like. To get consistent result, try to keep also your meshes consistent. It should be either this, for example, so here's one piece of mesh like this, or just detach these guys into separate chunks. To optimize your scene then, that's all what you need to know. I do the same on meshes like floors. So instead of having the floor one big piece like this, I have it as 2 pieces or 3 pieces. So this piece of the floor, this part of the floor we don't see, is set to something like 8, and this is 1K maybe. And you may wonder, where is this part? Well, it's also separated into its own part. Let me show you. And let me show you also the separator. Try to separate your meshes. Let me take this part too. Yeah. Try to separate your meshes when you have separators on them, like this. right? So you don't want to do what we did here, because when you have two different meshes, and this is with the GPU Baker, with the CPU, you will have nightmares here. Like you would see all the seams, and that's because how the lighting is calculated from the CPU to the GPU. I will not go into detail about these technical things, but this is why one of the main reasons I like to use the GPU Baker. You won't have these seams unless you have extreme difference in the Lightmap resolution, right? Here we don't have extreme difference. This is made by me. I think it's just offsetted, yeah. But as you can see, we never see any seams. And again, if you go back to Luoshuang, I forgot how to type it. When you go to Luoshuang GPULightmass, you would see the main difference between the CPU and the GPU Bakers. This built on the GPU and this exact same scene built on the CPU. And you can see when you have modular pieces like floors, walls, you will have these seams. With the GPU Baker, we never see these seams, thankfully. Well, when we up the resolution here, this light bleed is gone from this end, but because here we have a lower Lightmap resolution, we can see the light bleed here. So, in short, to avoid these light leaks, just increase the resolution of your light maps. Don't go extreme, because you don't want to spend 5 days just building the light. I would always start with 64 and then up the resolution slowly to 128, 256 or 512. Usually 512 is perfect, but it takes like 3 times more. And now you can see in this room, when we made it 1024, 512, there we go. We have way much better shadows and soft shadows and that good stuff. To demonstrate on a real project, let's open in the maps here. We have the main GPU, and this built on the CPU. I will not cover the CPU, it's covered in our first tutorial. And we will cover the CPU again in 426 for you guys and girls. So this is the room. Here you can see low resolution 64, and here you can see it's so much better because this is just one piece and it's also set on 64. You see the difference? The same here, 64, we have the sunlight coming in. This could be better when we increase it to 128, but you can see these two parts here are way much better than this guy. If we open another level I made for you, this is the same mesh I showed you before, where we have one wall, one mesh having all the walls, and here we have the walls basically just separated. What we're going to do now is to build the light. We keep the exact same settings on both apartments, so this one, I think 1024, let's just set everything on, let's do it 256, okay, and let's do this guy on 1024. Here's our floor, let's set it on 512, let's say, and here's the same floor, let's do it on 512, 512, or even 256, and let's bring a nice teapot from our test map. Let's see, can we find a teapot here? Yes. This boy. Enlarge it, put it here. Put it here. By the way, when you press shift while moving your meshes, you can move the camera with your mesh. So usually I like to make copies of my objects by pressing Alt, selecting where I want to copy the mesh, like this, and press shift, so I can move like this. Alright, let's do the same. Boom, put it here for just no reason. And maybe to see the shadows better, let's put a spotlight like this. And let's do the same here. This is just the final test we do before we wrap up the interior lighting in Unreal Engine for you guys. And of course, you guessed it, next lessons are exterior. Let's build the light and wait for a second. Well, more than a second, but you know what I mean. Until the light bake is finished, I'm gonna do a quick announcement for you boys and girls. Number 1, you can go to our website, sign up to our newsletter to get notified when we post new lessons. You can watch class 1 whether on YouTube, or you can support us by watching it on Skillshare. And here, when you click on this link, you will get free 2 months of Skillshare, where you watch even more classes and support me by watching my class on Skillshare. Also, we will upload today this nice room for you to download as FBX to get it to do your lighting tests. I wanted to upload the Unreal Engine project, but I couldn't do it for free. I uploaded this for you, this Unreal Engine empty room project here for you to download and do tests, but unfortunately that anything that's larger than 500 megabytes or something must be paid, so we made it for $1. You can do that on Buy Me Coffee, and you can subscribe to our channel, and you can ask me to make you space tutorials. Boom, boom, boom. Get notified when we share the remake of this project. This project is gonna be awesome. The remake of this guy, and also the next class that is coming to YouTube is going to be on this guy. So watch the cinematic. I'm gonna leave a comment for you and leave a like. And just stay tuned, because this is going to be class 2. Class 2 is going to be an interior that you see here, noise, and is gonna be the exterior. Yes, good stuff. Subscribe, baby, and hit that bell button and that good stuff. Alright, here we are. Light bake is finished. Here we have our ugly kitchen, and here we have the even uglier kitchen. You see, when the kitchen is one piece like this, set to 64, and here it's ugly still, but still one part set to 64. You see the difference in the bake? Jesus. So now you know that one of the main secrets to get beautiful lighting in your Unreal Engine projects. See the shadow here? This is set to 256. You can see how lovely the shadow is on the teapot. But here, you can see how ugly the shadow is on the teapot. Because again, this is one piece, the floor, what we see, what we don't see. But here is just this guy, and then we have this guy, and then what we don't see is just this guy. So I think that would cover almost everything for the interior lighting in Unreal Engine. And you may wonder, just like you have this final question: how can I know how to divide my meshes? Well, do it strategically. It's nice practice to try and keeping all meshes have the same size. So try to do that, you know, not having one piece like this and then one piece like this. No, just divide them strategically, and you would learn this by practice. So I absolutely urge you to download this file. It will be on Gumroad and it will be on Skillshare. After you download it, do your tests, divide your meshes, attach your meshes, do whatever you want, go to projects and resources and start a new project. And if you need any help when you do your project here, we can assist you. And what you can also do is going to our community on Discord and just post your work in progress, post your work, post your stuff, and there is me and the boys and the girl, and we will do our best to help you. Also, soon, as you can see here, I'm with my boys in our server. We will start doing weekly sessions to teach you live on Discord, so that's another reason to join us, to join our community. All links will be in the description. I like coffee, and thank you for watching this tutorial series. It's been a pleasure teaching you guys and girls. I look forward to create more classes, more projects. Subscribe if you're not already. Leave a like. It was your boy Yahya from VR Division with your boy Zahi and Adel. Love you guys. Have a pleasant day, and I will see you very soon. Hey!